Habin couldn't stand seeing the school bully live comfortably. She pressed him, asking if he'd ever truly intended to contact Kang Taeseo or apologize. Park Min-soo was left speechless by her words. Someone else confirmed they had figured as much. Habin stated he simply ignored the situation out of pride. She questioned if applying to Solaris was just to avoid Taeseo, making Cha Ji-sok react with shock and denial, while Park Min-soo and another watched. Cha Ji-sok tried to downplay it, calling it a prank among friends. Habin's eyes burned red as she repeated, "A prank?" Park Min-soo looks shocked and startled. He wonders what is wrong with this kid. A terrifying, fiery, skeletal figure looms in his vision behind Hyun Habin. The feeling is like being frozen by a monster. Park Min-soo stands back, facing away. He tells himself it must be his imagination and he cannot back down. Park Min-soo looks stressed as he speaks. He says he didn't avoid him on purpose. He was planning to apologize when he had the chance. Park Min-soo tells Habin he only applied to Solaris because an acquaintance asked him to. Habin tells him, "Is that so?" Sitting nearby, Habin holds her phone and says it is funny because she knows the vice guildmaster of Solaris. Park Min-soo is completely shocked. He immediately denies it, thinking it must be a bluff. Park Min-soo wonders what kind of connection she could possibly have with the Solaris vice guildmaster. Habin thinks for a moment. Her phone screen shows a text conversation with Cha Ji-sok. Cha Ji-sok asks if he wants the extra special pork cutlet today. A reply is sent saying, "Yeah, it sounds good." Another reply is sent asking for curry. Habin showed Cha Ji-sok the payment request on her phone. She declared they were now pork cutlet cost-splitting buddies. Cha Ji-sok reacted with surprise, questioning the term pork cutlet. Park Min-soo playfully accused him of making up stories or using a fake name for the contact. Habin scoffed, saying, "Does it look like that to him?" Someone interrupted them sharply, reminding them of the real issue. Two guys saw something shocking on their phone. They read Hyun-soo's news aloud. "Kang Taeseo is on his way here." Habin looked up, stunned by the announcement. She echoed the news in disbelief. Having the thought of Kang Taeseo walked forward with heavy, dramatic steps. Someone asks in disbelief, "Seriously?" The person with the phone explains, "He suddenly messaged me just now asking if Habin was here and I said yes, so—" Habin looks worried, hearing the news. Someone asks nervously, "Are you saying we might actually see him?" Another person reacts strongly, "Whoa, no way!" Habin stays silent, her expression hidden. A purple aura surrounds her as her instincts scream at her. "My instincts, forged from surviving all kinds of chaos, are screaming at me." Habin's eyes open wide in panic. She thinks she need to get out of here, right now. Her thoughts race, "Gotta leave before Kang Taeseo shows up." Habin forces a smile and announces, "Guys, I'm heading out. Take care." As she walks away, she thinks to herself, "I just know something annoying is about to happen." Park Min-soo grabs Habin's shoulder from behind. He exclaims with a grin, "Hey, why are you running? So you were really lying, huh?" Habin looks furious and retorts, "Do you think I'm you?" A door handle jiggles slightly. Park Min-soo taunts her, "You were just acting all tough, weren't you?" Habin screams back, "Think whatever you want, you crazy bastard!" Someone reacts with surprise. Habin holds and clutches Park Min-soo's face with one hand. He gets surprised as a tall figure of Kang Taeseo stands before them. The crowd gasps, spotting someone important. They exclaim that Kang Taeseo is here and looks incredible in person. The man seems flustered by the attention. Someone nervously offers the man a seat. Another voice greets the man and asks how he's doing. Someone else asks for an autograph for their brother. The man takes a step forward. The man stops abruptly, facing Habin, who flinches. He looks at Habin and says, "It's been a long time." Habin responds nervously that it has indeed been a while. Habin quickly says goodbye and turns to leave. The man grabs Habin's jacket, telling her to wait. Habin looks utterly shocked, tears in her eyes, as man tells her he came specifically for her. The man reveals he is there to offer Habin a position at Coligo. Everyone was stunned by the sudden statement. They wondered if she had just received a guild invitation. Questions arose as to why it would be Hyun Habin. Confusion and disbelief spread among them. Man asked, "Do they not know yet?" Habin quickly interrupted, trying to stop what was happening. He announced that Hyun Habin was actually an A-rank hunter. A moment of silence erupted. Everyone got shocked. They questioned the astonishing news. They repeated her name in disbelief. Someone repeats, A-rank? Park Min-soo just stood stunned by the news, as some speak in disbelief that in their class they had 3 hunters in their group. Hyun Habin looked incredibly annoyed by the situation. The man in the coat continued, offering Habin double what other guilds had proposed. Hyun Habin politely but firmly refused his offer. She thought to herself how clueless the man was. Someone thought, why not? Someone gave a reason in her friend's ear. She claimed to know the Solaris Vice Guildmaster. Someone questions if she then joined Solaris. Habin tries to change the subject. Ah, right, Taeseo, I almost forgot. Park Min-soo is caught off guard in the background, as Habin spoke that Park Min-soo wants to apologize him. Park Min-soo looks shocked. Think he tried to run but got caught. Habin stands behind him smugly, implying Min-soo was caught trying to escape. She reminds Park Min-soo he has his chance to apologize right here and now. Habin pushes Park Min-soo forward. Habin urges Park Min-soo to apologize, calling it his chance to become reformed. Park Min-soo reacts with stunned silence. Park Min-soo nervously hopes Cha Ji-seok won't retaliate because of their past. He meekly offers an apology. Park Min-soo tells him he was truly sorry back then and it was entirely his fault. Man responds simply. Kang Tae-seo looks down at him and asks if that's so. Park Min-soo panics, thinking, "Don't tell me." He adds Kang Tae-seo intends to kill him. Cha Ji-seok speaks, saying, "Then." Kang Tae-seo lets out a sudden shriek and shows his aura to him. Park Min-soo looks utterly shocked. His soul left his body and he faints and falls on his friend. Man pushes the limp Park Min-soo aside, complains that Park Min-soo is heavy and needs to move out of the way. Kang Tae-seo observes that Park Min-soo seems to have passed out completely. A sound of surprise is heard. Habin asks why Park Min-soo fainted. Kang Tae-seo tells Habin that Caligo wants to recruit her and asks for her terms. Habin reacts with shock and frustration, asking what is wrong with him today. Habin insists she already refused earlier and asks what his problem is. Kang Tae-seo tells her to just state her conditions for now. Man throws Park Min-soo aside, gestures towards a spot, suggesting he sleep there. People in the background chuckle amongst themselves. Someone comments how hilarious it is that no one cares at all. Habin firmly states she is not joining any guild. Sword Spirit calls out for Habin. The Sword Spirit asks who this person is now. A character expresses frustration and inability to think straight. She reminds him they promised to stay quiet during the reunion. The Sword Spirit confirms the promise, but says that's not the issue. The Sword Spirit asks what is with this Kang Tae-seo guy anyway. Habin worriedly asked about him, hoping it wasn't anything serious. Sword Spirit observed something strange about the constellation he had. Hyun-soo reacted with surprise. He thought, that can't be. The Sword Spirit desperately pleaded, begging for her to be believed. There was a moment of hesitation, but she thinks Kang Tae-seo didn't have a constellation. Habin stared, questioning what she had just heard. Hyun-soo's eye widened in shock. Silence fell. Habin scrolled on her phone, searching about him. She found something. Her eye watched intensely. She showed his photo on social media. A social media feed popped up. People were discussing Kang Tae-seo online. They wondered if it was true he had no constellation. Some debated his real rank and skill. She thinks to herself, but was it really true that Kang Tae-seo had no constellation? Habin looked at her phone, questioning. The online comments continued. Some users called it fake news, but another insisted it was true and promised evidence. Someone else was skeptical. People online say it was a trick and they aren't coming back. She wonders what is going on. Suddenly, an error occurs, preventing the page from loading. She thought, asking if the post was deleted and if it was just a troll. Habin looks at her phone, which is making buzzing sounds. She thinks her phone is overheating. Her group chat shows everyone asking if Kang Taeseo is really coming. She tells Sword Spirit that they will talk more at home later. Habin thinks about Kang Taeseo. As she was in deep thought, Kang Taeseo asks Habin if she is listening. He tries to convince her to join Caligo. Habin says no. She took a step back holding nearby bowl. Kang Taeseo insists they will meet her conditions and asks her to reconsider. Habin yells that she said no. She continuously shouting that she will not join any guild. Kang Taeseo still suggests they just discuss the terms. She digs frantically into a bowl of snacks as she feels like they are going crazy. She throws the snacks at him, telling him to take this. Kang Taeseo gets surprise. Kang Taeseo suggests she might consider them after trying, while trying to cover his face. Kang Taeseo stands in the room along as wind sound heard. Kang Taeseo notes that she left. Kang Taeseo walks away from the table. Kang Taeseo reflects that she paid for the snack before storming off. Habin runs through the city, thinking her escape was successful. Habin continues to run. Kang Taeseo looks out. Hyun Siu says Habin's name quietly. Question: why? A tall building stands against the sky. A phone rings on a desk. Hyun Siu picks up the phone. He hears news about the target receiving offers from Solaris and Caligo. He says he expected that. He asks which offer the target chose. He learns they rejected both offers. His eye widens in surprise. He asks if there is any other information. He is told their daily activities are just ordering food and being late for training. The man is left speechless on the phone. Hyun-soo lamented about his little sister Habin. He thought she was living her most productive life. He had hoped she might lend a hand. Hyun-soo leaned back, remembering Habin before the gate crisis. She was a model student back then. He contrasted this with the last round, rose to the top, came the world's strongest, achieving legendary feats. Hyun-soo sighed again, wondering if Habin was secretly plotting something. But then he considered the true situation. He grew serious, looking at the task ahead. A special quest notification popped up. The quest was to eliminate the Guardian of Deceit for Resurrection Stones. He realized the real problem was on his side. If Hyun Habin was just going to enjoy herself and stay out of the way, he knew what he had to do. Hyun-soo prepared himself, determined to take care of things alone. Hyun-soo sits back, wondering why the system is panicking. He sits comfortably, a slight smile on his face. He calls someone. The Spez Association office answers his call. They react in surprise, hearing it is Director Fidus. Hyun-soo confirms it is him. He announces he is moving up the upcoming Spez meeting. He explains it's because of a crucial agenda item. He prepares to share the topic of the meeting. He instructs them to inform everyone. The message is they've discovered a method to clear the tower up to the 50th floor. On the other end, shock registers. The person asks, "The 50th floor? We're only at the 26th." They question what this news even means. Hyun-soo knows this information will make them all scramble to gather. He looks satisfied, the phone still in his hand. Scene shifts, the city buildings at night. Habin walks, looking down, seeming unhappy. The Sword Spirit asks her what is wrong. Habin replies that it is because of Kang Taeseo. She recalls how people said he reached the top without a constellation, and she believed them. But now she knows he did have a constellation, and it feels like a betrayal. Habin's face shows her troubled thoughts. She asks if he was able to sense other people's constellations too. Sword Spirit confidently states it can sense most constellations. He explains that sometimes it cannot fully detect them depending on the grade of the sacred relic. But if someone tries to hide it, it can at least feel a faint trace of energy. Habin looks up, asking about Kang Taeseo then. The Sword Spirit makes a thoughtful expression. The Sword Spirit confirms that Kang Taeseo was one of those trying to hide it. He describes it as a strange kind of energy, and adds that Kang Taeseo definitely had something around sacred relic level. The Sword Spirit adds that the feeling it gave off wasn't good either. Habin wonders if anyone else can detect constellations like she can. She worries if others could detect them in return. The sword spirit replies that probably no one can detect them unless it reveals itself. Habin instructs the sword spirit to make sure it stays hidden. The sword spirit readily agrees. Habin thinks to herself that it's hard to trust the sword spirit since it was caught before. Habin sighs, finding the reunion tiring. She notes that escaping earlier than planned gives her some extra time. Habin decides she will sort everything out once she gets home. The sword spirit looks confused, asking what she means by sorting things out. A holographic interface appears, showing mirror dungeon clear rewards. The rewards are listed: Unbloomed Dragon's Breath and Impossible Letter, with a note about immediate hatching upon opening. Habin mentions she cleared the mirror dungeon before, but delayed claiming the rewards. The sword spirit is shocked and demands to know why she would postpone claiming rewards. The sword spirit questions why Habin even entered the dungeon if she wasn't going to take the reward. The sword spirit wonders if even claiming the reward felt like too much trouble for Habin. Habin explains she was busy interrogating Che and couldn't check the rewards at that time. Sword asks why she didn't check the rewards earlier. She admitted it was because it felt like too much trouble. He labeled her the laziest person ever. She finally decided to claim the rewards now. "Just hurry up and take it," the system urged. Habin reached out towards the system window. She touched the Claiming Reward button. A powerful burst of blue light and energy erupted around her. The light overwhelmed Habin. Ugh! She shielded herself from the intense energy. The bright light faded, leaving her squinting. She wondered what happened. An egg and a piece of paper appeared on the floor. She was surprised by the items. Sword Spirit questioned if the paper was the Impossible Letter and the egg the Unbloomed Dragon's Breath. Habin sat down and held the large egg. Maybe, she thought. So this, she began to ponder, holding the egg closer. She wondered if she should just put it in her inventory. Habin wondered what she was supposed to do with the object. The sword spirit told her it was obvious, she should warm it. A strange fizzing sound emanated from the egg. Habin reacted with a startled gasp, asking, "Huh?" The egg she held began to crack and break apart. Inside the shell, a small white creature started to emerge, surrounded by a soft light. She held the hatching egg carefully. A tiny creature with purple eyes and small horns broke free from the shell. She gets shock, asking, "A dragon?" The small dragon squirmed and moved. The cuteness was overwhelming. Habin held the newly hatched dragonling close, looking flustered and delighted. The sword spirit, however, looked quite cross. The sword spirit suggested the letter nearby might have information about the little one. A letter lay on the floor. The sword spirit urged Habin to open the letter too. Habin looked at the strange paper she held. A small creature sat on her head, looking just as curious. "What is this?" she wondered aloud. She studied the text on the paper, which seemed to flicker and shift unknown letters. She thinks, could this be some kind of filter? A message appeared explaining it was a note from the mirror dungeon after she cleared it. It asked her to take good care of Liber. Habin looked at the creature on her head. "Liber?" she repeated, surprised. More details about Liber appeared, like a parenting guide. She learned Liber ate chicken and vegetables, was scared of sleeping alone, and loved sweets. Habin was astonished, thinking how could there be a detailed guide for something that just hatched? But still, she couldn't shake off the thought, why was there so much filtering on the paper? It was so bad, there was hardly a single sentence she could read properly. Suddenly, something changed. The filtered text seemed to become clearer, revealing a hidden message. It told her she could reset the place's configuration values by striking the system. This meant she could rewind time. She could go back to when her parents were still alive. The message continued, saying she could even erase the entire gate incident and put everything back the way it was before. Someone in the past sat in a dark room, surrounded by papers, perhaps preparing this message. Habin read the letter and gasped, asking if it could all be reversed. The letter told her not to give up, saying she missed how things used to be. Habin felt a strange feeling, thinking it was creepy. She turned to the sword spirit, asking if it could understand the letter. Habin asked if the sword spirit couldn't read the blurry text. The sword spirit reacted to the blurry text and said it couldn't decipher it either. Sword Spirit asked if she could understand what the message meant. Habin confirmed that yes, she could. She explained that it recognized the message even if it was indirect. The narration pointed out the letters were written in silver ink. There was a hint that the silver ink was significant, as she imagined someone writing the letter.
Habin looked down at the paper, recognizing her own handwriting, but she knew she had never written this. She saw the figure sitting at the desk, someone identical to herself, surrounded by scattered papers. Habin's wide eyes showed her realization that it must be a trap or something that shouldn't exist. She stared, wondering just who this figure was. She questioned again in her mind, "Are you?"
Habin was in deep thought of unknown entity. Cha Ji-sik stands in front of the door, calling for Habin. Cha Ji-sik calls out to go train. Cha Ji-sik smiles and asks Habin what woke her up today. Habin shows frustration, telling him he truly don't know when to give up. Cha Ji-sik closes the door, states that's what he should say, as she is always unprepared for training. Habin stands behind him, feeling frustrated that, as Cha Ji-sik turns back, to tell Habin she might make students hate her if she works too hard. He then asks her what she is doing. Habin is huddled under a blanket, looking embarrassed as she says it is nothing. Suddenly he asks her what she's doing as Habin tries to hide something. She angrily tells him, what is he looking at? Cha Ji-sik is surprised by the sudden outburst. Suddenly, tiny dragon flew under the cloth towards Cha Ji-sik, and he looks shocked. A small white creature makes cute sound as air filled with cuteness and love. Bright flowers and sparkles appear all around them. Cha Ji-sik stares at the creature, holding the dragon, asking what kind of animal it is, and reminding Habin that pets are not allowed at the training center. Habin takes hold of dragon again, telling him, not peep that dirty. Cha Ji-sik asks, peep? The sword spirit floats, also shocked by the name. The sword spirit erupts in fiery frustration at being called a dragon and given a name. She wonders if Jelgela was supposed to remain silent. Cha Ji-sik points in surprise, asks when the creature was even brought in. Habin asks, hesitantly, if pets are allowed at the training center. Cha Ji-sik emphatically denies it's not just any pet. He asks if the creature Habin holds is a dragon. Habin, looking shocked, denies it. Cha Ji-sik declares triumphantly that it is a dragon. Cha Ji-sik states he can see through any skill hiding its wings. Suddenly, he burst as he realizes this is the big dungeon boss monster. He insists he definitely recognizes it as a dragon. He finds it impossible that Habin, who dislikes troublesome things, would register a pet. He exclaims that no one has ever succeeded in registering a dragon as a pet. He demands to know how this could possibly have happened. Cha Ji-sik shouts at Habin not to try and make excuses. Habin gets ear bleeding listing these many questions all at once. Even dragon covers his ear. She thinks she should confess before her eardrums burst. She puts dragon on the bed, reveals it was a dungeon quest reward. This is also a secret. Don't tell anyone, Habin says. Cha Ji-sik adds, if it gets out this time too, it'll be hard to cover up, won't it? Habin agrees. Cha Ji-sik looks at the cute dragon remark, if she want to hide it so much, why don't she put it in her inventory? She questions, inventory? Cha Ji-sik sits down beside the bed. He explains, ah, right, she might not know if it's her first time. He describes a beautiful, serene pocket dimension. He explains, when you register a pet, a sub-dimension is created in your inventory where they can rest. Cha Ji-sik continues, the size and comfort of the pet space vary depending on the player's level. He elaborates, at her level, this one sub-dimension would be like a hotel suite. Habin looks surprised by the information. She exclaims, such a method! She muses, so the best way to keep it hidden from people is to keep it in my inventory. She remembers the message she gets with a piece of paper. It says, please take good care of Libe. It reveals it gets scared sleeping alone. She recalls incident happens 5 years ago. News reports detail the increasing destruction from an unknown hole and the difficulty confirming casualties from the creatures emerging. As time passed, the sense of being utterly alone became painfully clear. Sleepless nights were filled with pain, day after day. Habin cried alone in the rain, wishing someone was by her side. She hoped no one else would have to suffer through such nights.
Habin stood with this emotion states, no matter how busy she will be, she should take it out at night and sleep with the dragon. Cha Ji-sok looked at her, surprised by her words, asking if she's okay. Habin sighs dramatically, wishing she didn't have to go to training. Cha Ji-sok looks startled as Habin suggests skipping their session. Cha Ji-sok protests loudly, calling Habin a rascal and questioning her disrespectful attitude towards her mentor. Habin's expression darkens, and a red aura begins to surround her as she states she'll overlook training, but warns against anyone disrupting her peaceful life again. Cha Ji-sok speaks stammering what she would do if he didn't overlook something. A voice shouts from behind a door, urgently calling out for intern Hyun Habin, telling her someone from Caligo is here. She remarks on the unfortunate timing of the arrival. Habin's red aura flares violently as she curses Kang Tae-seo. Habin's face is twisted in pure rage, her fists clenched tight within the overwhelming crimson energy. The raging energy erupts as she declares her target is dead. A man from Caligo arrives, formally addressing Miss Hyun Habin. The Caligo guildmaster requested a meeting, so one was quickly arranged. Habin replies, "But the required training course today makes skipping impossible." Man explains, "This meeting will count as a practical alternative course, substituting for all training." She is surprised by this arrangement. She asks Cha Ji-sok why he didn't plan something like this. Cha Ji-sok replies, questioning if it makes sense for a mentor to tell an intern to skip training. Then, Man tells her to please get in the car. As she agrees, Cha Ji-sok seems confused. She ran behind her, calling by her name. Cha Ji-sok calls out, asking if Habin is really joining Caligo. Habin denies it, saying it's not that. Cha Ji-sok warns Habin not to go, finding the situation suspicious. He argues that Caligo has no logical reason to recruit an A rank like this. Reaching out, Cha Ji-sok gives a final warning that it could be a trap. He adds, or maybe they might found out her and her true abilities. She asked Cha Ji-sok if he hadn't been investigating her, thinking he'd already know this much. She revealed that Kang Tae-seo and she were in the same class in high school. She said that if it were about the guild, she'd run out, but for now, friends can talk. She mentioned that originally, Korea ran on family ties, regional connections, and school ties. She told Cha Ji-sok she would see him later. He gets surprised by the news. Cha Ji-sok watched as she departed. He repeated her words about family ties, regional connections, and school ties. He thought about Kang Tae-seo of Caligo, who was famous for not caring about those things at all. Holding his phone, Cha Ji-sok looked thoughtful. He concluded that there's definitely something going on. A phone rings in a lab. Cha Ji-sok talks to the girl on other side. He mentions that intern Hyun Habin and Caligo have been following them. Cha Ji-sok decides he will go on the quest they were supposed to work on with Caligo. She confirms it is the strategy quest for Kill Screen's 26th floor. Though she doesn't want to go, Cha Ji-sok says he will go instead. Cha Ji-sok asks his sister, the guildmaster, to look into the Caligo side. He says she is better at prediction skills than he is. His sister, the Solaris guildmaster Cha Ji-suk, agrees. She adds she will check when she has a chance. Cha Ji-suk cheerfully tells Jinhui he doesn't have to go. Jinhui reacts with an annoyed yell, stating he wasn't going in the first place. Scene shifts at Caligo office. Habin stood before the office staff, bows down to Habin, informed that the guildmaster is inside. She thanks him for informing. As she walks inside, the man addresses Habin by name. He tells her he has been waiting for her. Habin smiles and replies, hoping his wait wasn't in vain. She continues, mentioning their lack of conversation at the reunion due to his work. Habin expresses her hope for a proper conversation now, as they stood face to face, ready for the conversation. Man says he has been waiting. Habin replies, hoping the wait was not in vain. She mentions they couldn't talk properly at the reunion because she was busy. She hopes they can have a proper conversation now. They stand facing each other in a bright, large room. But the woman looks around the place. She wonders why it is so empty. She says she heard he usually stays in his office. She addresses the man and asks about his old hobby of collecting books and comics. The man replies that he threw them all away. She recalls a memory of the past. She holds out a book and asks him to look. Hyun proudly shows off a book he painstakingly collected. Sitting on the floor, man asks Habin if she knows how hard he searched secondhand stores for this book. Habin looks surprised and asks if he really likes it so much. Man smiles confidently, declaring he will keep it until he dies. A thought reflects on the irony of someone discarding hunter stories when they are so popular. Back, in an office, man gestures for Habin to sit. Habin agrees and sits down. Man apologizes for yesterday and his hasty guild offer. He tells her he's changed the terms and asks her to hear them out. Habin looks taken aback, asking what's with his recent way of talking. She wonders if he's been in the military, questioning his stiff speech. Habin recalls he used to be the gentlest guy and asks what changed him. Man pauses for a moment before answering. Man explains that people tend to look down on you if you act too soft. Habin listens to his words. The man sat across from Habin. Habin nodded, agreeing with what he said. Man seemed to struggle internally. He spoke, saying it wouldn't be easy, but he will try. Habin changed the subject, stating she wouldn't become a hunter. The man replied that she didn't have to. The man explained that just putting her name on a roster was enough. He added she wouldn't even need to enter a dungeon. Habin looked shocked. The man continued, suggesting that joining a guild-run raid might count as a practical substitute for training. Confusion filled the air around Habin. She questioned what she'd just heard. Habin abruptly stood up. She exclaimed in disbelief that it actually counted as a substitute. The man offered to list Habin's name on the raid lineup so she could skip training entirely. He promised she'd get the same benefits as guild members even if she wasn't official. He even suggested she could just try it out first. Habin grew suspicious of the man's generous offer. She wondered why he was giving her so much. Habin suspected he was definitely planning something. She took a drink from a cup. Habin suddenly brightened up. She thought about the possibility of skipping training legally. She felt incredibly excited about it. Scene shift. At Killscreen Dungeon Gate, reporters are gathered around. One of them reports that today marks the start of a joint raid operation between Caligo and Solaris. With Korea's two strongest guilds teaming up, everyone is watching closely. Someone checking things up. Equipment check. People are doing their own things. Habin, sitting aside, reflects that there's a lot of people here. Cha Jisok stood beside, explains that Killscreen is more dangerous than other dungeons, but the rewards are way better. High risk, high return. That's why they revised the law to ban civilian access without special permits. Too many dangerous incidents happened. Habin reflects on that. Man continuous, but Cha Jisok asks how she got in here. She retorts, says you. He then asks about the training center. Habin replied with the same answer again. Cha Jisok explains that Solaris and Caligo are raiding the 26th floor together. Habin looks surprised by this information. She questions if the situation is dangerous enough to require both guilds. Cha Jisok clarifies there's a split path in the dungeon. He explains that one path leads to a secret vault and the other to the boss room. He adds that each guild will take one path simultaneously. Habin calmly states she understands. Cha Jisuk shouts in frustration, saying he's asking how she got there. Habin explains she's just listed on the Caligo roster and is planning to watch. Cha Jisuk confirms she's using this as a practical substitute. Habin readily agrees. Cha Jisuk reacts angrily, asking if she came all this way just to skip training. He declares that's how much he hates training. Other guild members appear, shouting Cha Jisuk's title and asking what he's doing. They eagerly tell him they've been looking for him and urge him to come quickly. He tries to say something like, wait, no. Cha Ji-suk tells to hold on as the guild members grab him and took him away. Habin waves goodbye and wishes him luck with the raid. She thinks to herself, this is why you should never become popular. Habin looks thoughtful after they leave. She heard people talking about the guildmaster sending a newbie into a kill zone. Habin is sitting down, looking surprised by someone with a serious and frustrating expression. Habin thinks everyone sees a bit on edge, but she doesn't care at all. She wonders if others are nervous too. Meanwhile, a group gathers near the dungeon entrance. Someone announces they are about to enter. He instructs the standby team to stay put. Another person warns of a dangerous cliff near the entrance. They urge the standby members to be careful. Habin watches the scene unfold. Cha Ji-suk gives Habin a stern look. He tells her not to do anything foolish and stay where she is. Habin acknowledges his words. She confirms that she understood. But Habin is still confused. She thinks that even Che isn't reacting to something. She feels sure he couldn't have missed it. Habin spots something strange glowing in the air. She wonders if only she can see it. Habin focuses on the mysterious blue light. A bizarre digital object flickers on the ground. It looks like a glitch from a game. Habin points towards the anomaly. She asks the sword spirit if it can see what she sees. The sword spirit appears puzzled. It asks Habin what she is talking about. Habin gestures directly at the glowing object. She emphasizes that it's right here. The sword spirit makes a sound of confusion. A message appears. An error has been detected for the first time since Kill Screen was created, and she acquired hidden title Bug Finder. A skill was created due to a unique action. She reflects on the skill she got. She reads more. The passive skill, Error Vision, allows the detection of errors in the world. She musses over it. Habin gets lightened up, wonders if she finally has a skill that isn't the void whatever thing. Sword Spirit reacts angrily. Void whatever? The Flame Spirit insists it's an incredible, one-of-a-kind skill. Habin excitedly asks the Flame Spirit, Jiao, if they are curious about her new skill. The Flame Spirit looks on curiously. Habin explains that Error Vision lets her detect errors in the world. Smiling happily, Habin says this is way more fun than watching dramas. Habin suggests they find a spot where no one's watching. She looks around a bit, very cheekily. Habin and Jiao arrive at a spot in the woods. Habin asks if this is far enough. Jiao questions if they aren't still near the crowd. Habin smiles confidently, stating the spot is perfect. Jiao seems confused. Huh? Habin tells Jiao to follow her closely. Jiao starts to question what Habin is doing. Habin races forward, holding Sword Spirit in her hand. The Sword Spirit plummets, screaming in fright, as they starts falling down. Scene shifts. Cha Ji-suk and Kang Tae-so look on with concern. A third man explains that they were in the standby group but fell from the cliff. One asks if they really fell from the spot they were supposed to just wait, expressing disbelief. Cha Ji-suk asks what they should do now. Cha Ji-suk states they can't leave the dungeon immediately to rescue them since they've already entered. The other man adds that standby team members are awakened and likely not severely injured. Cha Ji-suk asks who the person was that fell. Man hesitates. Before answering, he reveals it was Hyun Habin from the standby team. Listing answer, both fall in stupor. Finally, the decision is made that they should complete the dungeon before attempting rescue. Someone suggests they keep moving. Cha Ji-suk is annoyed that someone didn't listen and wandered off near the cliff. Back to Habin. A strange visual appears, asking if something is there and labeling itself an error vision. Habin reaches out into the shimmering light. Habin uses her power, emitting a blue glow, startling the sword spirit she entered the error. The surroundings become dazzlingly bright and colorful. Sword Spirit asks if this is a subspace, and a system message confirms she has entered an unknown one. A system message informs Habin that a skill has been created because of her unique action. Habin sees a message describing her new skill, Subspace Entry, allowing her to enter an error rift and potentially leading to Kill Screen's 15th floor. She wonders, does this mean she can use error to move around wherever she wants? Sword Spirit can't believe what was discovered, and the Sword Spirit questions what kind of person Habin is. Habin finds the situation strangely unsettling. She considers if they should test the new ability. Another message appears, stating, "This point leads to Kill Screen's 26th floor. Would you like to enter?" Habin looked up at the glowing screen with wide, surprised eyes. She considered the tempting blue option, thinking, maybe just a quick peek. Her eye widened further as intense energy pulsed. A powerful magical activation sound echoed. Habin was suddenly yanked into a swirling blue vortex. The sound of rapid transport filled the air. A blinding white light erupted from the portal. Habin landed with a jolt, letting out a startled sound. She looked around, shaken, and said the sudden fright had scared her. Then she looked closer, beginning to realize something about her surroundings. A monstrous statue watched from a high perch. A system message announced she was in the boss room of the 26th floor dungeon, the Demon King's office. Another congratulatory message appeared, stating she was the first human to reach this boss room, revealing the grand office. Habin reacted with confusion. She wondered how she had skipped all the stages and jumped directly to the final boss room. A powerful presence is felt. A low growl echoes through the space, questioning who dares intrude. The voice challenges anyone bold enough to enter its domain without fear. A display identifies the entity as Demon King Crixia, the first of the 7 Demon Kings. The monstrous form of Crixia, the Demon King of Pride, appears, with vicious, multi-headed hounds with glowing red eyes. A heavy impact echoes. Demon Lord asks, "Who's there?" The heavy presence persists. A woman stands cautiously, looking ahead. He challenges, "Who dares to step into my domain without fear?" This is Demon Lord Crixia. He is the first of the 7 Demon Lords, the Demon Lord of Pride. The massive Demon Lord Crixia stares with glowing red eyes. Habin faces off against a large, menacing Demon Lord. She confidently asks the figure if it's the boss. Demon replies, questioning how someone like Habin got here and noting her carefree attitude. He commands its subordinates to deal with her. The multi-headed monster lunges forward, targeting Habin. He summoned the sword in her hand. She hit the howls very with the sword. With intense look, she ran forward. Heavy footsteps land on the rubble. Beast flew beside the demon and hit the wall. A blinding blast of purple energy erupts. The monster stumbles back. He looks at his beast dead. Startled, while Habin stands nearby with her sword. She states she was trying to have a conversation. Demon starts sweating, fell in stupor, not know what just happened. Habin asks him why he isn't attacking. As Demon Lord watches her, Habin smiles, holding the powerful sword, invites him to fight. Scene shift to the People Expedition. Footsteps echo on the ground. An older man expresses frustration at having dropouts so early on. He adds that this is why they shouldn't bring rookies along carelessly. Man walking behind asks if they didn't expect this kind of problem. Someone reacts with silence. A man in a gray shirt frowns while questioning someone's insolence. As he didn't respond, he chastises someone for bringing a friend to a dungeon, calling it childish. He thinks to himself that an arrogant attitude will end now. Wickedly he smirks and declares his plan to remove Kong Taiseo and take the guild leader position. Scene again shift to Demon Lord. He was opening his eyes as Habin calls out for him, telling him to open his eyes. He groans in pain. He looks up, demanding to know what is she before him. As he was stuck in the wall, the monster questions Habin, asking who she is and where she came from. Habin asks if she really need to explain the situation. The scared monster says she doesn't necessarily need to reveal her identity. The sword spirit considers the situation, think Demon Lord is just scared. She asks if Demon need to kill the monster boss to close the dungeon. Demon Lord looks utterly terrified, stutters out a confirmation that this is the case. Habin thinks, if that's the case. The figure pleads with Habin, saying she doesn't have to kill them to end the fight. They offer to surrender and retreat to another floor. Habin asks about the rewards if the figure surrenders. The figure mentions the rewards if Habin lets them out first. Ah, they realize. Demon Lords surrender all the loot in front of her. A dazzling array of rewards is presented, including weapons, a crown, and precious gems. A large being offers the table of items to Habin. He tells her she can take her pick. Habin looks at the rewards, considering her choice. The legendary Sword of Vanity is shown, granting attack power but lowering judgment. Next is Sturdy Arrogance, a legendary armor boosting defense but also lowering judgment. Finally, the legendary Necklace of Vanity appears, increasing charm but with the same caution about judgment. She dismisses the items, saying only plus 50 stats makes them junk. Habin asks if Demon Lord were deliberately shown bad items. Demon Lord reacts in shock. He insists the items shown are ones he cherishes. Inside, his headed he thinks that items granting a 50 stat increase are called junk. As we get to explains that SSS rank hunters' attack stats are only around 150 to 200, highlighting the value of plus 50. Demon Lord, crying golden tears, argues that the items are really good. Habin states they are useless to him. Demon wonders what he could possibly want if these items aren't enough. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the raid team. Cha-Jisek speaks. Finally, they arrive at their destination. Cha-Jisek and his companion Kong Taiso stands at the split road. Cha-Jisek declares they will split up from this point. He adds that they will join the boss raid later if necessary, even after looting the secret vault. Kong Taiso confirms that he understood. The rest of the group stands behind them. Badman from earlier smile beams, declaring everything is going according to his plan. He reveals the plan to push Kong Taiso into the boss room alone and lock the door. Another man questions what happens if Kong Taiso defeats the boss and escapes. Badman smiles and reassures the other. He explains that even the top-ranked hunter raids with fellow hunters. Even if their target manages to defeat the boss alone, he'll be exhausted. Then they can take him out if they attack as a group. The other person responds saying they understand and it makes sense. He watches to the target Kong Taiso walking ahead towards a massive gate, unaware of the plot against him. He thinks that the Kong Taiso's world is about to end. Kong Taiso stands alone before the large, imposing gate. 4 figures stood before him. Kong Taiso reached out to open the thick door. Then a brilliant light erupted from a huge gate. A lone figure stood facing the overwhelming radiance. Nearby, Badman grinned, his eyes fixed on the Kong Taiso. "Now's our chance," he declared. A masked figure flicks his power. Another man shouts about paralyzing poison. Third man shout out about a back attack. A bright blue beam shoots forward. Powerful blast of energy erupts. The explosive energy spreads towards Kong Taiso. He clutches his teeth and questions the situation as blinding light filled the hall. Inside the door, Habin sat on Demon Lord's throne, looking down as she asked if this was truly the best effort. In the hands of a sweating Demon Lord, the Demon Lord's secret book glowed brightly. Its description appeared, promising the acquisition of a skill from the Demon Lord. Habin questioned how poorly it had been maintained to get so filthy, as Demon Lord continued to sweat and show distress. She questions if the Demon Lord possesses any good skills. He looks back, annoyed by the challenge. He retorts that he hasn't had the chance to use them. Habin asks if he wants to fight then. She dismisses her answer, saying, "Fine, whatever." She reaches out, glowing book, states she is busy anyway, as she puts the book in her inventory. She expresses concern about potentially running into the raid team. A worried expression crosses her face. She wonders if she should just go back and watch some drama. She checks her phone, which displays a loading icon. The screen clearly states it is not connected to the internet. Confused, she exclaims in surprise that her data isn't working. She questions if being in a dungeon is preventing the internet connection. Habin muttered that her phone was slow, but it had worked at the dungeon entrance. She wondered if it would work better down at the cliff. Suddenly distressed, Habin worried this meant she couldn't watch shows even when she returned. Demon Lord beside her seemed just as bewildered. Habin turned to the figure, asking if it had anything that could make Wi-Fi and data work in dungeons. She added that such an item would be incredibly useful, as she was desperate. The figure tilted its head in confusion about data. Habin sighed, realizing her question was pointless and telling it to never mind. She thought to herself that she hadn't really expected much anyway. She sighs, accepting the situation. Decide to worry about verifying the data later. She reached out to opens the error gate states she's bored, and it might not be bad to look around a bit. Demon Lord bows down as she prepares to leave. Demon Lord booms a powerful farewell wish. As she was about to enter the error gate, door starts to open behind her. A sudden, powerful force tears through the air. A loud impact rings out. Habin is caught in the chaos, looking wide-eyed and distressed. Habin expresses her shock and disbelief. Someone stands before a grand entrance, bathed in energy, as she realizes the raid team has already arrived.